Atak Chmielu is today's beer review. This is another beer from the Beer52 Poland box. Are we going to keep up the good standard? Check out the review to find out. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're going to be reviewing this beer from the Beer52 Poland box. This is called Atak Chmielu. Not quite sure exactly what that means, but it's by the Pinta, it's a bit more easier to pronounce, brewery in Poland. And this is an American IPA, and it's coming in at 6.1%. Let's see what it says on the back of the bottle. It's an insanely hopped American IPA, red copper in colour, full-bodied with a bunch of citrus in taste and aroma. Citrus, floral, resinous, piney, fruity, thanks to the American hops. Atak Chmielu is the first commercial American IPA brewed by a Polish brewery. Doesn't say the name of the hops in it though. So I think we should get this bottle opened and into a glass. So American IPA, from the sound of that description, I think it's going to be obviously more on the West Coast. More brewed in that sort of very traditional Sierra Nevada sort of IPA, and as you can see, as soon as I pour it, it is absolutely. I mean, look at it. It's bright. It's a dark orange. It's like a red ale. Very, very dark. Wasn't expecting that at all. We got a one finger sort of off-white head. It's an interesting one, this one. I'm not sure what to expect. Let's get some aroma, shall we? Yeah, there's a sort of... It's almost like a sweet, sort of almost caramel-esque, malty sort of aroma to it. And I can almost sense underneath that there is this pininess that, is very sort of typical of a beer like this. But I think it's going to be... It looks quite hazy. Let's get it down, shall we? Cheers, everyone. I'm going in again. It reminds me of something, but I'm not quite sure what it is. It has got a very sweet maltiness in flavour. I'm trying to feel if there's any fruits in there, but there's not really any sort of fruit flavours coming through. But it's just an overall sweetness with a sort of bitterness on the back end. Very piney. Very sort of dry and bitter at the same time. It's quite pleasant bitterness though, but it is very much that sort of, exactly how it described it. It's quite floral, it's piney. There's a fruit flavour, but there's no sort of... I suppose if I was going to think of a fruit that I could taste was really sort of like an orange rind and those sort of flavours. I'm not really getting... There is a subtleness of lemon, but there's a sweet sort of malty, sort of caramel-esque backbone to it. And then you've got a slight orange, but it doesn't sort of... Sometimes when you get orange in a beer like this, and even the look of the beer like that, that orange can be a sort of a bit more like a marmalade. But it's difficult to really get that sort of taste out of it. I think I'm trying to find that flavour opposed to it actually being there. It's quite nice, but it really does sort of coat the back of your mouth in terms of that piney bitterness, which can be a little bit overpowering for me. I think, in terms of the mouthfeel, yeah, it's fairly light and it's, medium carbonation. Certainly wouldn't call it soft. It's very much, in my view, very much more in that West Coast sort of style. But there's a very sort of almost like a traditional sort of ale, bitter sort of flavour into it. I'd be interested to know what the hops are, but I would suggest you're going to have things like Chinook in there, Simcoe maybe. I don't know. I mean, Atak Chmielu, I don't even know if that maybe that sort of says anything about the hops. I mean, American hops. So I would say Chinook, and I would say probably Citra as well, and probably Simcoe. Certainly they're the ones that I would think that are in this. It's 6.1%. I don't know if I mentioned that. 6.1%. So, reasonable sort of level of strength. I think I've tasted enough though, and I'm ready for some scores. Okay, the scores are in for Atak Chmielu by the Pinta Brewery in Poland. This is a 6.1% American IPA, and it's very much a traditional, like a Sierra Nevada sort of IPA. It's quite strong. It's quite dark in appearance. Very sort of almost like it's a dark amber or really dark burnt orange sort of colour. And, it tastes a little bit like it looks. But first things first, aroma. I was quite surprised that, you can smell that sort of maltiness. There is a sweetness in the aroma, almost like a caramel, or toffee sort of caramel. And it's almost something like you can get those sort of toffee ales. It's almost like this, similar to that. Has that sort of sweetness in the aroma, but you can't really pick out much fruit in terms of those sort of aromas. But you are getting that sort of piney, resinous, sort of dewy, West Coast bitterness sort of aromas, really, is all the best way I can describe it. If you like that and you're into that sort of thing, then I think it's a good setup for ready for the taste. But for me, the aromas don't really do it, and I'm giving it a 10 out of 20 for aroma. Appearance, well, it looked pretty good. Look at that, beautifully nice. It's nice to, it's nice to have a beer that isn't just a yellowy haze anymore. Poured really sort of really dark. It's a real sort of almost like copper coloured, bronze, dark amber sort of ale colour. I think it looked pretty good. You got a nice the head still retained. You can see the lacing of the glass there. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 for appearance. Flavour wise though, we're getting a lot of these Polish beers now. They're very much on the sort of West Coast, which people know that I'm not a massive fan of. I'm glad that it's challenged me to say, right, we drink some more of these, maybe you'll get into it. But for me, that sort of the sweetness was there, but it sort of disappeared quite quickly and went into a very sort of piney bitterness, and that was pretty much it. I'm really struggling to find fruit. It's very sort of like that sort of orange rind, very sort of strong, bitter, a little bit harsh. Mouthfeel, and carbonation, sort of medium to light, both of those really. So it feels all right in the mouth, but it's just a little bit too bitter for me, and I'm marking it down. I know there's people out there that like that sort of thing. If you like that West Coast bitterness, then I think you'll get a lot from this. But for me, I want a little bit more fruit, freshness in there, just to give the beer a little bit more flavour, opposed to just being a one note in terms of its piney bitterness. So I'm getting it 30 out of 40 for flavour. Value for money, it's a free 30ml bottle. It's £3, roughly, they're about 7 out of 10. It's the same score. And then overall experience, well, as I said, it's not normally my cup of tea. Certainly won't want to drink more than one. It's just too bitter. It just coats the throat too much. It's not my sort of style of beer. But if you like that sort of real, this is a West Coast which is really, really on that sort of piney bitterness, is really, really strong. So if you like that, you crazy people, then you might enjoy it. But for me, I wouldn't want to drink more. I will probably finish this beer, but I need something to just to get that bitterness away from my throat. I always think, well, maybe in a year's time, my love of that sort of more bitter taste and then and stouts may develop, but we're way off that yet. I keep trying them and I'm thinking I should embrace them, but they just don't do it for me at all. So 10 out of 20 for overall experience. Totting those up, we get 65. It's a Bon Jovi beer. It is that sort of beer. It's not bland corporate rock like Bon Jovi are, but it's it's just bitter, you know. It's, you know, if this was a song by Little Angels, it'd be bitter and twisted, because that's exactly what I feel about it. Not for me, but if you like this sort of beer, maybe you'll get something out of it. But I'm interested to know. Let me know in the comments if you've had this from the Beer 52 box. Maybe you've enjoyed it. Maybe there's something I'm missing about this. Maybe I need to drink this with the right sort of foods to get the best out of it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Really appreciate it. And until the next one, you know what you're going to do. Keep on rocking.